Hey guys, Michaela and I thought we would do something real crazy today and try to make our own tag. That's right, our own tag. And maybe slightly related to the fact that we recently announced that we're gonna start doing story time reviews, which is that Michaela and I are reading books to each other and then doing reviews on them, and that's a different reading experience. We'll link that video up above. And of course, we already have been doing our book club for like 4 or 5 years. So we're good at this story time thing a little bit, and we have thoughts and feelings, and we wanted to create some questions and share that around the internets with you guys. So question 1, what is your preferred form of communal reading? Is it like book clubs, buddy reads, story times?
I think for me, and this might be a super big shocker to you over there, Gretchen, my favorite communal reading is actually the book club, and it's not because I don't enjoy story time. I really do. It's one of my favorite things, but I think the thing about book clubs that really gets me is the whole us coming together and like me having that we're like mind blown moment where somebody brings something up that I didn't even think about because my perspective was so zoned into something else, or doing that to somebody else. And when we're reading things together, that doesn't happen as often because we form our opinions together, obviously. That doesn't belittle story time, but I just like really enjoy that like. Do you enjoy communal reading, or should reading be a solitary experience?
I think you know that the answer to this is a little bit obvious just because, like, you know, we do the thing. And I think that I like different versions of what we do for different stories. Like, I love hearing your voices when we're doing story time with Zebulon Finch, and I love being able to talk to you in real time when we're doing, you know, the actual in-person buddy reads. But at the same time, there's also something super fun about coming into a book club with you, me, and Taylor, and having an idea of what the other people are thinking, but then you get into the real in-depth discussion and you're like, oh, that's how you really feel about this, and like coming to it, having read it, formed your own opinions, and then sharing your own opinions, as opposed to forming our opinions together as we read a book. So that's really fun. I don't know, I couldn't pick between the two of them. So Michaela, question 3 is, have you ever participated in a book club, and why or why not? What's your answer?
No. Yes. It's been on here for like 5 years. This isn't a big shock for you guys or for you, Gretchen. But we are more interested in hearing from everybody else. If they have ever had a book club experience and what that was sort of like. I know that my stepdad tried once, but he couldn't stick to it because he didn't really like the books that everybody else picked. And we have very different reading tastes, but we sort of truck through for each other and enjoy the conversation no matter what. So what is your guys' experience with that? Hey Gretchen, are there certain genres that lend themselves to communal reading? Why?
I mean, I am biased towards our reading kids books together. I think that that's really fun. I think that kids books also have a sense of maybe that these are going to be read aloud, and so they're kind of helpfully written in that way. At the same time, I also love having nonfiction read to me through audiobooks, which is like the opposite end of the scale. So I don't know. I think that the best things to be communally read aloud, like in story time if you're reading them together, are like fun poppy bits with a lot of jokes and dialogue, because that's the real fun time to be interacting together and hearing the other person, you know, there are no other people I read books with, like having that person play act them for you and then being able to be like, oh, that joke was so bad, or hey, laughing together in real time. So that's what makes it really fun for me. So, question 5, are there any genres that you would never be able to read with another person?
I made it a joke when we were making this question, but I feel like it is maybe the only real answer, and that is erotica. I do not, even with a significant other, I do not think that it lends itself to being read and discussed. Maybe there's a way to do it. I know that Vaginal Fantasy reads romances. They're not exclusively erotica, but they do the thing, and they often talk about the sex scenes and what that feels like. I just personally feel like I would be like way too uncomfortable to do that. Question 6. What is your first memory of a book being read to you?
So I don't actually have a memory of this, but I've heard it from my dad enough times to like think that this was one of the first times. My dad would always read aloud to me, and that's how I started reading by the age of like 3. But he loves to tell the story of when I got addicted to 101 Dalmatians when I was really little, and he would read it over and over and over again. And sometimes he would be so tired that he would try to like skip paragraphs or pages, and I'd be like, "No, Daddy, no, you skipped it." So that's his favorite story. So I don't know if that was my earliest memory because my parents were reading aloud to me from like day 1, but that's the story I always hear from my dad. Hey Michaela, I have a question that I don't know the answer to. So number 7 is, when was the last time you read aloud to somebody?
Spoiler alert. And by spoiler alert, I mean I know that you know this. The last person I actually read to was Taylor and not you, unfortunately. I do read with you a lot, but the last time I was reading aloud to you was right before Christmas. It's been a while. We need to get back on that. But the last couple times I was reading aloud, and I think the last time was last week sometime, Taylor and I sit on Skype, and I have been reading aloud to him from the Screaming Staircase. Do you feel audiobooks fulfill the same function as Storytime?
So I made a video kind of talking about how I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks recently, and we'll link that up above as well. But I think that it's interesting that when I'm reading audiobooks, I can't listen to fiction. I don't find it as interesting. I don't like the voice acting part of it, and I talked about that a lot. So while I really love having nonfiction audiobooks read aloud to me, I wouldn't want to be reading fiction books or children's books or anything that fun with anybody other than you, because like, I don't know, there's a sense of false gaiety in all of the fiction books that I've read so far. So no, I do not feel that they perform the same function. Question 9. Who would you love to read a book with? Fictional, alive, dead, whoever. Who?
I sort of pseudo did this already. I feel like I would really love Storytime with Patrick Rothfuss, who wrote the Kingkiller Chronicles. He did read his audiobook for The Slow Regard of Silent Things, and that's how I read the story. I had him read it to me, and despite the fact that that story is, protagonist is like a tiny girl child, and Patrick Rothfuss is obviously a large man, not a tiny girl child, it was really interesting to hear him read it because it's coming from, you know, the person who wrote it. That doesn't mean to say that I want him to read his books to me. I just feel like his way of reading and his voice in particular was very moving. And he does voices and he's jovial, and I just feel like he would be a good person to have reading a fun book with. We've come to the end. The last question in a tag is, of course, to tag people. I have a couple of people in mind. One is Amanda Center. I know that she recently has super been enjoying buddy reading with a lot of people here on BookTube. 2 is Hillary, who I have done my buddy read with personally. And I, just always love listening to her talk. She's beautiful and wonderful, and I want to hear about her experiences. And 3 is Josh from Literary Gladiators, because he is a fellow book club channel participator. So we definitely know he has a book club, but I would love to hear his thoughts on the rest of this. That's all we have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that this isn't a hot mess. I hope that it's not too super long, and I hope that we get a whole bunch of answers to these questions. Bye.